Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Vietnam. I'm your host, and today we've got a story that's going to hit different. This one comes from Clyde, a 65-year-old carpenter from Tupelo, Mississippi. Clyde spent his whole life working with his hands, building beautiful things for other people, but somehow never managed to build a life for himself. When a doctor's visit forced him to face his own mortality, he made a decision that would change everything. He came to Vietnam looking for a second chance at living. What happened next? Well, let's just say that sometimes the lessons we need most are the ones that cost us the most. This one's gonna stick with you. Here's his story, in his own words. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I had some grand life back in Mississippi. I didn't. For 42 years, I built cabinets and custom furniture in Tupelo. Good work, honest work, the kind where you can stand back at the end of the day and see what your hands made. But that was pretty much it. That was my whole life right there. I never married. Came close once, back in my 20s, but she moved to Atlanta and I stayed put. Didn't have kids, didn't travel, didn't do much of anything except wake up, go to the shop, come home, microwave something, watch ESPN, and smoke damn near 3 packs of Marlboros a day. Weekends, I'd maybe hit the VFW, have a few beers with the other guys who had nowhere better to be. That was my routine for 4 decades. I had about $65,000 saved up. Not a fortune, but not nothing either. Social Security was going to kick in, plus a small pension from the union. I figured that'd be enough to get by in my old age, assuming I made it that far. Which, as it turned out, wasn't looking too likely. It was last January when everything changed. I'd been having these chest pains, nothing too serious, but my buddy Carl at the VFW kept on me about getting it checked out. So I made an appointment with Dr. Patterson, my cardiologist. He ran a stress test. I remember being on that treadmill, huffing and puffing, thinking this is humiliating as hell. Week later, I'm back in his office for the results. Dr. Patterson's a straight shooter, always has been. He pulled up something on his computer screen, turned it toward me, all these lines and numbers I couldn't make sense of, and he said, "Clyde, your heart's running on borrowed time. You keep living like this, you've got 6 months, maybe a year if you're lucky. Change everything, or start planning your funeral." Just like that, no sugarcoating it. I sat there in that chair with the paper crinkling under me, staring at those test results, and something clicked in my brain. I was 65 years old. 65. And what did I have to show for it? Calluses on my hands and emphysema setting into my lungs. I'd never been anywhere except Memphis a few times and one trip to Gatlinburg back in '96. Never felt the sand on a foreign beach. Never tasted food I couldn't pronounce. Never woke up somewhere and thought, damn, I'm really living. I'd always told myself I'd travel someday, see the world someday, do something someday. But someday never comes when you're too busy with the next cabinet order, the next deadline, the next pile of sawdust to sweep up. Dr. Tartar. Patterson wrote me prescriptions, told me to quit smoking, lose 30 pounds, reduce stress, eat better, all the stuff doctors say. I walked out of there in a fog, drove home. Sat in my truck in the driveway for probably 20 minutes just staring at nothing. That weekend, I was at the VFW nursing and beer, not really talking to anybody, when Carl slid his phone across the bar to me. "You gotta see this," he said. He'd been watching YouTube videos about Americans living overseas, retirement stuff. Showed me this one channel about guys living in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam. They were talking about how cheap it was, how far your money goes, how different life could be. Vietnam stuck with me. I don't know why exactly. Maybe because it seemed far enough away to be a real escape, but not so exotic. I'd be completely lost. The guys in the videos looked happy, relaxed. They'd sit at these little cafes drinking coffee, smiling. Nobody looked like they were counting down their last 6 months. I went home and watched more videos, hours of them. Calculated costs in my head. A decent apartment in Da Nang ran about $400 a month. Food was cheap. Weather was warm year-round. No snow, no ice, no gray. Mississippi winters that make you want to die anyway. The more I watched, the more I thought, what the hell am I waiting for? I'm 65 years old with a bum ticker and 65 grand in the bank. If not now, when? If not Vietnam, where? What was I going to do? Sit in Tupelo and wait to die in front of the TV? I gave myself 1 week to think it over. Didn't tell anybody what I was considering, because I knew what they'd say. You're too old. You don't know the language. What if something happens? But I'd spend my whole life listening to reason, playing it safe, staying put, and look where it got me. On the 7th day, I opened my laptop and booked a ticket, 3 months, round trip, just in case. Da Nang, Vietnam. Departure date, February 12th. Cost, 1200. I stared at the confirmation email for a long time before I closed the laptop. I didn't sleep much the next few weeks, kept second-guessing myself. But I also kept watching those videos, kept imagining myself sitting at one of those cafes, kept thinking about what Dr. Patterson said. 6 months, maybe a year. I told Carl first. He thought I'd lost my mind. Vietnam? Clyde? You've never even been to California. But he also knew why I was doing it. He'd been divorced twice, buried a son. He understood that sometimes you gotta do something crazy just to remember you're still alive. I told my boss I was taking a leave of absence, told the guys at the VFW I was going on an adventure. Most of them laughed, figured I'd be back in 2 weeks. Maybe they were right. Maybe I would be. February 12th came up fast. I packed light, just one suitcase, mostly t-shirts and shorts I'd bought at Walmart. I'd never needed a passport before, had to get one rushed. Felt strange holding it, seeing my picture in there, knowing that little book was my ticket out of Tupelo. The drive to Memphis airport felt surreal. I kept thinking I should turn around. This was stupid. I was too old for this. But I kept driving. Check in. Security. Gate. The whole time, my heart's pounding, and not in the bad way Dr. Patterson warned me about. This was different. This was fear mixed with something I hadn't felt in years. Excitement. I sat at the gate watching families and business people and young backpackers with their whole lives ahead of them, and I felt like the oldest, dumbest person there. But I also felt alive. More alive than I had in decades. When they called my boarding group, I stood up, grabbed my carry-on, walked down that jetway. I was terrified. I was exhilarated. I had no idea what I was walking into. But for the first time in 65 years, I was actually walking toward something instead of just going through the motions. The plane door closed behind me, and there was no turning back. I landed in Da Nang around midnight on February 13th. The plane touched down, and I felt it, that wall of heat and humidity, the second they opened the door. Even at midnight, it was like walking into a sauna. The air was thick, wet, smelled like jet fuel, and something else I couldn't place. Not bad, just different. Foreign. Getting through customs was a blur. I handed over my passport, got my visa stamp, collected my bag, walked out into the arrivals hall. There were people everywhere. Vietnamese families holding signs, taxi drivers shouting offers, the fluorescent lights making everything look harsh and surreal. I'd arranged a grab through the airport. Wi-Fi, which was supposed to be like Uber. Took me 20 minutes to find the right pickup spot. The drive to my apartment was like nothing I'd ever experienced. Even at 1 in the morning, there were motorbikes everywhere. Hundreds of them, weaving through traffic like schools of fish. No lanes, no rules that I could see, just organized chaos. My driver didn't speak much English, but he kept pointing at things and saying words I didn't understand. I just nodded, gripped the door handle, tried not to think about how fast we were going. I'd found the apartment online through a Facebook group for expats. $400 a month, near in Duong Beach. The landlord, a Vietnamese guy named Tuan, met me outside at 2 a.m. like it was no big deal. He showed me up 4 flights of stairs, no elevator, to a small studio. Maybe 300 square feet. Tile floor, single bed, tiny bathroom, a hot plate for cooking, and a balcony overlooking the street. Basic, but clean. Good enough. Tuan handed me the keys, showed me how to work the air conditioning unit, and left. I sat on the bed and listened to the city outside. Motorbikes, dogs barking, someone's TV or karaoke bleeding through the walls. I was half a world away from Tupelo. Alone in a country where I didn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, couldn't even read the street signs. I should have been terrified, but I wasn't. I was just tired. I slept like the dead that first night. Woke up around noon the next day, soaked in sweat because I'd forgotten to turn the AC back on, took a cold shower, got dressed, stood on the balcony looking down at the street. The heat was incredible. Must have been 90 degrees, maybe more. People on motorbikes, street vendors pushing carts, someone cooking something that smelled amazing and completely unfamiliar. That first week was rough, I'm not gonna lie. Jet lag had me waking up at 3 a.m. and falling asleep at 4 in the afternoon. My stomach was a disaster. I'd try to eat something and spend the next hour in the bathroom. The language barrier was worse than I expected. I couldn't read menus, couldn't ask for directions. Every simple task felt like solving a puzzle. But I kept at it, started learning the neighborhood. There was a little shop downstairs where I could point at things and buy water, instant noodles, toilet paper. Figured out how to use the Grab app for food delivery. Found a banh mi cart 2 blocks away where the lady would make me a sandwich for 20,000 dong, less than $1. I'd point at the menu, she'd nod, hand me something delicious wrapped in paper. By day 4, I started venturing further. Found in Thuong Beach, just a 10-minute walk from my place. That's when something shifted. I'd walk down there in the morning before it got too hot, just walk along the sand, watch the waves. The ocean was this incredible blue-green color. Local fishermen would be pulling in nets. Old Vietnamese folks doing exercises on the beach. It was peaceful in a way I hadn't felt in years. I started getting into a routine. Wake up early. Walk to the beach. Stop at one of the little cafes near the water and order a café soit da iced coffee with sweetened condensed milk. I'd butcher the pronunciation every time, but eventually the servers got used to me. I'd sit on these tiny plastic stools that were way too small for a guy my size, drink that sweet, strong coffee, and just watch the world go by. The food got easier too. I discovered com tam broken rice with grilled pork, pho for breakfast, which felt weird at first, but I got used to it. Everything was fresh, nothing fried like back home. My stomach adjusted. I started feeling better, physically, sleeping through the night, walking more, not reaching for cigarettes as much because the humidity made smoking feel like drowning. I was lonely though. That's the thing nobody tells you about traveling alone at my age. The expat Facebook groups talked about freedom and adventure, but they didn't mention the silence. Coming back to an empty apartment every night. Eating meals by yourself, not having a single person to share an observation with. I'd see something funny or interesting and reach for my phone to tell someone, then realize there was nobody to tell. But it was a different kind of lonely than Tupelo. Back home, I was lonely in a dead-end way. Same faces, same conversations, same routine, knowing nothing would ever change. Here, I was lonely, but alive. Does that make sense? Like the loneliness had possibility in it. About 10 days in, I'm walking back from the beach one morning, and I pass this tailor shop I'd walked by maybe 6, 7 times already. It's on the ground floor of a building, open to the street, with this old sewing machine visible from the sidewalk, and there's a woman sitting outside on a little plastic stool, hemming a pair of pants by hand. She looks up, makes eye contact, smiles. "Hello," she says in English. Now, I'd gotten a lot of hellos from Vietnamese people vendors trying to sell me stuff, bar girls in the tourist areas, servers at restaurants. But this felt different, not transactional, just friendly. I stopped. Hello." She set down the pants, gestured to another stool. "You sit?" I hesitated. "But what the hell?" I sat. "You American?" she asked. "Yeah, Mississippi. You speak English good." She laughed. "Not so good. I practice. You tourist?" "Something like that. Staying a few months." We talked for maybe 20 minutes. Her name was Lynn. She was 42, worked at this tailor shop 6 days a week. Her English was pretty decent, better than my Vietnamese, which was non-existent. She asked where I was staying, how I liked Da Nang, if I'd been to the Marble Mountains yet. I hadn't. Didn't even know what those were. What struck me was how real she felt. Not like the younger women in bars who'd smile and ask you to buy them drinks. Lynn was weathered, you know. She had lines around her eyes. Her hands were rough from work. When she laughed at my terrible attempt to say thank you, in Vietnamese cam on, which I pronounced like camera, it was genuine. She wasn't performing. I left feeling lighter than I had since arriving. And the next morning, I took the same route back from the beach, past the tailor shop. Lynn was there again. She waved. I stopped. We talked for 15 minutes. This became a thing. Every morning, I'd walk by, we'd chat. She'd teach me a few Vietnamese words. I'd butcher them. She'd laugh. I'd tell her about Mississippi, about building cabinets, about how strange it was being here. She'd tell me about Da Nang, about working in tailoring since she was a teenager, about her life. By the end of week 2, she asked if I wanted to get coffee after she finished work, said there was a good cafe nearby. I said yes without thinking about it. That evening, I met her at the shop around 6 p.m. She'd changed out of her work clothes into a nicer áo dai, one of those traditional Vietnamese dresses. She looked nervous, which made me feel less nervous somehow. We walked 3 blocks to a small cafe, sat at a table outside, ordered café soit da. The sun was setting, the heat was finally breaking, and there were motorbikes streaming past, and she was teaching me how to pronounce café soit da properly, breaking it down syllable by syllable. Ka, fa, swa, da. Ka, fa, swa, da. Ka, fa. Close enough. We sat there for 2 hours, talking, laughing, watching the city move around us. She told me she'd been married young, divorced 10 years ago, had a daughter. I told her about my heart, about the doctor, about coming here to figure out how to live before I ran out of time. When we finally left, walking back toward my apartment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Connection. Real, honest to God, human connection. I'd been in Vietnam less than 2 weeks, and for the first time since boarding that plane, I felt like maybe I'd made the right choice. That first coffee turned into a second one the next evening. Then dinner a few nights later. Before I knew it, Lynn and I were spending time together almost every day. She became my guide to Da Nang, the real Da Nang, not the tourist version. She'd take me to these little calm tam places, tucked down alleys I never would have found on my own. Broken rice with grilled pork, pickled vegetables, a fried egg on top. Cost maybe 40,000 dong, less than $2, and tasted better than anything I'd paid $20 for in the tourist district. She taught me how to use chopsticks properly. I'd been fumbling with them like an idiot, holding them all wrong. She'd laugh, adjust my grip, show me the motion. Like this. Clyde, relax, not so tight. When I finally managed to pick up a piece of pork without dropping it, she clapped like I'd won something. We tried banjeo one night. These crispy crepe things stuffed with shrimp and bean sprouts. You wrap them in lettuce and herbs, dip them in fish sauce. Lynn showed me how to roll them, how to eat them without making a mess. I still made a mess. She just smiled, handed me more napkins. Over those first few weeks, I learned about her life. She'd married young, barely 20, to a guy from her village. They moved to Da Nang together, had a daughter named Min, but the husband started drinking, stopped working, eventually left when Min was 6. Just disappeared. Lynn hadn't heard from him in years. No child support, no help, nothing. She'd been working at the tailor shop ever since. 6 days a week, sometimes 10-hour days. The pay was terrible, maybe 5 million dong a month, around $200, but it was steady. She lived modestly, sent money back to her parents in the countryside, saved everything she could for Min. Min was 16 now, in her last year of high school. Smart kid, Lynn said. Wanted to go to university, study English, maybe become a translator. But university cost money they didn't have. Lynn showed me photos on her phone, Min in her school uniform, smiling at the camera. Her house in the countryside, small, concrete, simple but clean. Her parents, elderly, standing in front of a rice field. Everything about it felt real, honest, not the polished Instagram version of life, but actual life. I started falling for her. And I need you to understand, it wasn't like what I'd seen from other expats. I'd met a few guys at the expat bars by then, older dudes with girls half their age, clearly transactional relationships, everybody knowing the score but pretending otherwise. That wasn't this. Lynn wasn't some 23-year-old bar girl. She was 42, divorced, a mother, working a real job. She had lines around her eyes, calluses on her hands, a history. What got me was how she cared. She'd notice when I was reaching for cigarettes more than usual, ask if I was stressed about something. She started cooking for me at my apartment, simple stuff, Vietnamese home cooking. Con chua, this sour soup with fish and vegetables. Com chien, fried rice with whatever was in the fridge. Healthier than anything I'd eaten in Mississippi. One evening, she's making dinner at my place, and I light up a cigarette on the balcony. She comes out, takes it right out of my hand, stubs it out. You want to die? She says. Not mean, just matter of fact. Doctors say you stop. You stop. Nobody had cared enough to scold me in years. By week 5, we were seeing each other almost every evening after she finished work. She'd come over, we'd cook together or order delivery, watch Vietnamese TV shows I didn't understand, but she'd try to translate. Sometimes we'd just sit on the balcony, drinking cheap beer, watching the motorbikes stream past below, not saying much. Comfortable silence. She talked about Min a lot, how proud she was of her, how worried. The university entrance exams were coming up in a few months. Min's grades were good, but she needed better English scores. There were tutoring centers that could help, but they cost money. Real money. One night, we're having dinner at my apartment. She'd made bun cha, these grilled pork patties with rice noodles, and she goes quiet for a bit, just pushing food around her bowl. What's wrong? I ask. She shakes her head. Nothing. Just thinking. About what? Min's tutoring. For English test. She need it for university, but she trails off, waves her hand like it's nothing. Is okay. We figure out. How much is it? Too much. Don't worry. But I pressed. Finally, she told me 1.6 million dong for 3 months. About 800 bucks. Not a fortune by American standards. But for her, working 6 days a week for $200 a month, it might as well have been 1 million. She wasn't asking. That's the thing. She was just sharing her worry, the way you do with someone you're close to. But I could see it weighing on her. I'll pay for it, I said. She looked up. What? No, Clyde, no, is too much. It's not too much. I want to help. Y'all have been so kind to me since I got here. Let me do this. No, I cannot accept. Lynn, I'm serious. Let me help. Her eyes got wet. She tried to argue more, but I wouldn't hear it. The money was just sitting in my account anyway. What was I going to do with it? Blow it on beer and bond me? This was something meaningful. This was helping someone I cared about build a better life. The next day, she took me to the tutoring center. I paid them directly. 16 million dong in cash. The woman at the desk counted it, gave us a receipt, scheduled Min's first session. Lynn held my hand the whole walk back. Didn't say much, but I could tell she was overwhelmed. A few days later, she brought Min by my apartment. I was nervous as hell. Meeting the kid felt significant, you know? Like I was being evaluated. Min was shy, quiet, wore her school uniform, kept her eyes down mostly. Her English was pretty good, though. Thank you for helping, she said, barely above a whisper. For tutoring. My mother say you very kind. It's no problem, sweetheart. You just study hard, okay? She nodded, smiled a little, then looked at her mom. Lynn said something in Vietnamese, and Min relaxed a bit. We sat and talked for maybe half an hour. Well, Lynn and I talked. Min mostly listened, occasionally answered questions about school. She seemed like a good kid, polite, respectful, genuinely grateful. After they left, I sat on my balcony for a long time, smoking a cigarette. I knew I shouldn't be smoking, watching the sun set over the city. The whole thing felt surreal. 2 months ago, I was in Tupelo, alone, staring down death, figuring my life was basically over. Now I was here, in Vietnam, helping put a kid through tutoring, dating her mother, feeling like maybe I'd stumbled into something real. Looking back now, I can see how perfectly it was all set up. But at the time, I just felt useful. I felt needed. For the first time in decades, I felt like I mattered to someone. That night, lying in bed, listening to the sounds of Da Nang through my window, I thought, maybe this is what I came here for. Maybe this is what living actually means. I had no idea what was coming. By week 7, Lynn and I had fallen into a routine. We never sat down and had some big conversation about what we were to each other, but we both knew. She was staying over at my place 3-4 nights a week, had a toothbrush in my bathroom, kept a change of clothes in my closet. We'd wake up together, have coffee on the balcony, then she'd head to the tailor shop and I'd go walk the beach. It felt domestic, normal. Like we were building something real. She started talking about me meeting her extended family. Not yet, she'd say, but soon. When the time was right, her parents were traditional, she explained. They'd want to make sure this was serious before they met me. I understood that, or I thought I did. Different culture, different rules. I wasn't going to rush things. The money started flowing more freely around this time. Not recklessly, but I was definitely spending. We'd take Min out to nicer restaurants on weekends, places with tablecloths and menus in English, 50, 60, 80 bucks a meal. By American standards, nothing. By Vietnamese standards, pretty fancy. I'd watch Min's eyes light up when she'd order something she'd never tried before. And I'd think, this is what money's for, making people you care about happy. I started buying groceries for them, 200-300 bucks a month. Lynn would protest at first, but I'd wave her off. She was cooking for me half the time anyway. Seemed only fair I'd cover the ingredients. Rice, vegetables, fish, pork, whatever she needed. She'd send me to the market with a list, and I'd come back with bags full of stuff I couldn't pronounce. When business was slow at the tailor shop, I'd slip Lynn some cash, just a little. 500,000, 1 million dong, 20, 40 bucks. Enough to help her get through the week. She'd always try to refuse, but I'd insist. What else was I going to spend it on? By my rough calculation, I'd spent maybe $3,500 total since meeting her. The tutoring, the meals, the groceries, the little cash gifts. It felt good though, purposeful. Like I was investing in something. in us. Then complications started piling up. One evening, Lynn comes over looking stressed. Really stressed. I ask what's wrong, and she tells me the tailor shop owner is increasing the rent on the space. Business has been slow, and if the owner can't cover the higher rent, they might have to close, which means Lynn would be out of a job. How much does he need? I ask. She shakes her head. Is not your problem, Clyde. How much? 10 million dong, maybe little less. He need help until business pick up again. 10 million dong, about 450 bucks. I tell her I'll cover it. She argues with me, says it's too much, she can't accept it. But I can see the relief in her eyes even as she's protesting. I transfer the money the next day. Problem solved. A week after that, she gets a phone call late at night. I'm lying in bed, she's in the bathroom, and I hear her phone buzzing on the nightstand. She comes running out, grabs it, starts talking rapid-fire Vietnamese. Her voice gets panicked, urgent. When she hangs up, she's crying. What happened? My father, he fall. I rice field. They take him to hospital. Is he okay? I don't know. They say he need doctor, maybe medicine, maybe stay in hospital. I have to go tomorrow, have to help pay. She's shaking. I hold her, tell her it's going to be all right, ask how much the hospital costs. Maybe 30 million dong, maybe more. I don't have. My mother don't have. I don't know what to do. 30 million dong. About 1,500 bucks. I don't even hesitate. I'll give it to you. Clyde, no, is too much. I cannot. Lynn, your father needs help. Let me help. Please. She breaks down crying, tells me I'm the kindest man she's ever known, that she doesn't deserve me, that she'll pay me back somehow. I tell her not to worry about it, just take care of her father. The next morning, I withdraw the cash, hand it to her. She catches a bus to her village, says she'll be back in a few days. When she comes back 4 days later, she's exhausted but grateful. Her father's stable, recovering. The hospital bills are paid. She hugs me so tight I can barely breathe, keeps saying thank you over and over. Tells me her parents want to meet me soon, that they're so grateful for what I did. I'm running the numbers in my head by this point. I've spent close to 6 grand since meeting Lynn. The tutoring, the shop rent, the hospital bills, plus all the daily stuff. $6,000 in about 2 months. That's a lot. But it doesn't feel wasteful. It feels like I'm building a life with her. With them. Building something that matters. But there were signs. Looking back now, I should have seen them. Hell, I did see them. I just didn't want to admit what I was seeing. She never invited me to her house. Every time I'd suggest visiting, seeing where she lived, meeting her parents in person, she'd deflect. It was too far. It was too embarrassing. The house wasn't nice enough for a foreigner. Her parents were too traditional and needed more time. Always an excuse. She'd disappear sometimes, for hours, half a day. She'd say she had to help family, or deal with something at the shop, or run errands. But she'd be vague about it. And when she'd come back, she'd seem distracted. Off. Her phone was always face down. Always. And if it rang when I was around, she'd either ignore it or step outside to take the call. When I asked who it was, she'd say cousin, or friend, or someone from work. Nothing specific, I noticed. But I told myself I was being paranoid. This was Vietnam, not Mississippi. Different culture, different expectations. Maybe it was normal here for women to be more private about family stuff. Maybe I was being an impatient American, expecting everything to move on my timeline. She had a job, a daughter, a life that existed before I showed up. She wasn't some bar girl looking for a ticket out. This was legitimate. This was real. That's what I kept telling myself. One night, we're having dinner at my apartment. She's made canchua again, and we're eating on the balcony, watching the motorbikes stream past below. The conversation's easy, comfortable. Then she goes quiet for a bit, gets this distant look. What are you thinking about? I ask. She smiles, shakes her head. Nothing, just dreaming. Dreaming about what? About future. About having own business someday, not working for someone else. The tailor shop? Yes, but my own shop. Where I can take clients, make clothes, set my own prices, but is impossible, need too much money for machines, for space, for everything. She says it casually, like it's just a passing thought, not asking for anything. Just sharing a dream she knows won't happen. But I'm already thinking about it, already doing the math in my head, already imagining what it would mean if I could help make that dream real, already too far gone to see what was coming. By week 11, that casual comment about owning her own business had turned into a real conversation. Lynn brought it up again one evening, more concrete this time. We were at my apartment, she was cooking, and she started talking numbers. I look at machines, she said, stirring the pot. Good ones, industrial. Two machine, maybe 50 million dong, around $2,200. I looked up from my phone. You're serious about this? Yes. I can take client at home, make better money, have more time, but is big money. I save for years, maybe never have enough. She wasn't asking, not directly, but I could hear it in her voice, the hope, the possibility that maybe, just maybe, this could happen. I'd spent about 6 grand so far. My savings sat at around 59,000 bucks. I'd come to Vietnam with 65,000. That math was starting to add up, but it didn't scare me, not yet. What if I helped? I said. She turned around, wooden spoon in her hand. Clyde, no. It's too much money. But if we're building something together, right? If we're serious about this, about us, then it makes sense. It's an investment. In your future. In our future. Her eyes got wet. You really think about future? With me? Of course I do. Why else would I be here? That's how I justified it to myself. If I was serious about Lynn, if I was planning to stay in Vietnam, extend my visa, build a life here, then helping her start a business wasn't charity. It was building something sustainable for both of us. I transferred 50 million dong the next day, $2,200. She cried when I showed her the receipt, told me she'd make it worth it, that she'd work so hard, that we'd build something beautiful together. She started talking about marriage, not proposing exactly, but hinting. Talking about what our life could look like. Maybe me getting a retirement visa, staying long-term, her having her own business, men going to university, the three of us as a family. I let myself believe it. A week later, Lynn took me to a gold shop in the city center, said there was something important we needed to do. In Vietnam, she explained as we walked through the crowded streets, motorbikes honking around us. When man is serious about woman, he give gold. Is tradition. Show family, show community, this is real. The shop was small, tucked between a faux restaurant and a phone repair place. Glass cases full of gold jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, rings. The prices were in the millions of dong, but the shopkeeper spoke enough English to convert for me. Lynn pointed to a necklace. Delicate, but substantial. Real gold, 24 karat. This one, she said quietly. How much? The shopkeeper calculated. 80 million dong, about 3,000 a dollar. I felt my stomach drop. That was serious money, more than I'd spent on anything except the business machines. But Lynn was watching me, and I could see it in her face. This mattered. This meant something. We'll take it, I said. She wore it constantly after that. Showed it to Min, showed it to people at the tailor shop, told everyone I was her future. I'd catch her touching it absent-mindedly, like she couldn't quite believe it was real. By week 12, we were talking seriously about logistics. My 3-month visa was running out. I could extend it, get another 3 months, maybe even look into a retirement visa if I was really staying long-term. Lynn thought I should extend. Why go back to Mississippi? What was there for me? She was right. There wasn't anything back home. Not really. Then she brought up the apartment. My little studio was fine for me, she said. But if we were going to be together properly, if Min was going to stay sometimes, we needed more space. She'd found a place. 2-bedroom, bigger kitchen, nicer neighborhood, only $600 a month. But need deposit, she explained. First month, last month, security. Maybe $1,800 total. That's not bad, I said. And furniture, kitchen things, make it nice for us. She showed me listings on her phone. Beds, table, chairs, kitchen supplies, all the stuff to make it a home. She'd done the math. Another 150 million dong. About 6,200 bucks. That's when I hesitated. I'd spent 6 grand before, plus 2,200 for machines, plus 3,500 for the necklace. That was almost 12,000 already. Add another 8,000 for the apartment and furniture, and I'd be at 20,000. A third of everything I had. That's a lot of money, Lynn. She looked hurt. You don't want to lie with me? No, I do. That's a lot all at once. This is our home, Clyde, our future. You want future with me, yes? The way she said it, I couldn't say no. What was the alternative? Go back to my shitty studio. Keep spending money on restaurants and her place without ever actually building something together. If I was all in, I had to be all in. I signed the lease, paid first, last, and deposit, went furniture shopping, bought everything she picked out, moved in during week 13. The place was nice, I'll give her that. Bigger, cleaner, in a quieter neighborhood. Felt like a real home. But the cracks started showing immediately. Lynn was gone more. A lot more. She'd stay over 2, 3 nights, then disappear for 2 days. Family emergency in the village. Her mother needed her. Something at the shop she had to handle. Always an excuse, always vague. The sewing machines never arrived. I'd ask about them, and she'd say they were on order. They were coming, just be patient. Vietnamese business moves slow, she said. I tried to believe her. The apartment felt empty when she wasn't there, which was often. I'd sit on the balcony, bigger balcony than my old place, overlooking a side street and smoke cigarettes. I'd promise myself I'd quit, and wonder what the hell I was doing. I'd spent $18,000 in 3 months, maybe more. I lost track of the exact figure. A quarter of my life savings, gone. And for what? An apartment I lived in alone half the time? Sewing machines that didn't exist? A gold necklace around the neck of a woman who was never around? But I pushed it down, told myself I was being paranoid, told myself this was just how relationships worked here. Different culture, different pace. She had obligations I didn't understand, family stuff, Vietnamese stuff. I was being an impatient American again. Then I saw her at Han Market. I'd gone to buy kitchen supplies, stuff we needed for the new place. It was early afternoon, hot as hell, the market crowded with vendors and tourists and locals. I was walking through the covered section, past the fabric stalls, when I saw her, sitting at a small cafe table, with a man, Western, older than me, gray hair, maybe 70. They were laughing. Her hand was on his arm, the same way she'd touched my arm when we talked. My stomach dropped. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, just watching, trying to process what I was seeing. Then I walked over. Lynn. She looked up, her face drained of color, like she'd seen a ghost. Clyde. Hi. The man looked uncomfortable. Stood up. I should go. Who the hell is this? I asked. Just friend. Old friend. From before. Friend? I could hear my voice getting louder. People were starting to look. The man mumbled something, left quickly. Didn't even finish his coffee. Lynn stood up, grabbed my arm. Clyde, please. You were embarrassing. People looking. I don't give a damn who's looking. Who was that? I told you, old friend, nothing bad. Why you don't trust me? Because you're sitting here in the middle of the day with some old guy instead of at work like you said you'd be. Her face changed. The fear turned to anger. You follow me? You spy on me? I didn't follow you. I'm buying stuff for our apartment. The apartment I just paid $8,000 for. So now you throw money in my face? This is what you do? We were causing a scene. Other shoppers were stopping, watching. I didn't care. Just tell me who that was. I told you, friend, but you don't believe. You never believe. You think I am liar? You think I am bad woman? She started crying. Right there in the market, tears streaming down her face, her voice getting louder. I give you everything, Clyde. Everything. And you accuse me. You don't trust me. Maybe we are a mistake. Maybe you should go back America. She grabbed her purse, pushed past me, disappeared into the crowd of the market. I stood there, surrounded by strangers, feeling like the biggest asshole in the world. Or the biggest fool. I wasn't sure which. After the scene at Han Market, Lynn disappeared for 2 days. Didn't answer my calls, didn't respond to messages. I sat in that new apartment. Our apartment, the one I just spent $8,000 furnishing, and felt my gut twist itself into knots. When she finally showed up, she acted like nothing happened. Walked in with groceries, started cooking dinner, chatting about her day at the shop like we hadn't just had a public blowout over her sitting with another man. Are we going to talk about what happened? I asked. She shrugged, kept chopping vegetables. You embarrass me. You accuse me. What is there to talk? Who was that guy, Lynn? I told you. Old friend. Why you cannot believe me? But the warmth was gone. That's what got me. She was going through the motions, cooking, staying over, smiling when she thought she should, but it felt transactional now. Like she was doing a job. The thing that had felt real for 3 months suddenly felt like the fakest thing in the world. My gut wouldn't let it go. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Things I'd rationalized away before suddenly looked different. Her phone was always locked. always. When she showered, I'd hear it buzzing on the nightstand, messages coming in. When I glanced at it, just the notification previews. They were in Vietnamese from names I didn't recognize. She'd come out of the bathroom, see me near it, get this flash of panic in her eyes. She never answered calls when I was around. The phone would ring, she'd glance at it, silence it, say spam or telemarketer. Every single time. When I asked about the sewing machines, when they'd arrive, she'd get vague. Soon, she'd say. Vietnamese business, slow. Be patient. But she wouldn't look at me when she said it. And she was gone more now, overnight, sometimes 2 nights. Always family emergency, always the village. Her father again, her mother sick, her sister needed help. But she'd come back looking fresh, not like she'd been in some rural village taking care of sick relatives. I knew. Deep down, I knew. But I didn't want to know. Then one evening, she used my laptop to check something. Left it open when she went to take a shower. Facebook still logged in. I sat there staring at the screen, her profile page, right there. All I had to do was look. I knew I shouldn't, knew it was a violation of privacy, knew it was wrong. But my hands were already moving. Scrolling through her profile, looking at photos, my world collapsed in about 30 seconds. Photos of her with other men, Western men, different guys, different time periods, all within the past 2 years. Same smile she gave me, same poses, same gold necklace, and some of the recent ones. The one I'd bought her. Posts in Vietnamese, I couldn't read, but the tone was clear. Comments from her friends, laughing, using emojis. Photos of her at nice restaurants, nice hotels, always with different foreign men. I took screenshots, hands shaking, felt sick to my stomach. She came out of the bathroom, saw me at the laptop, and her face changed. What you doing? I couldn't even answer, just stared at her. You look at my Facebook? You spy on me? Who are these men, Lynn? Friends, just friends. You have no right? Friends. You got about 20 different friends here, all of them old Western guys, all of them looking at you the same way I do. She tried to grab the laptop. I held it away. We argued. She cried. I didn't. I was past crying. She left that night, said she needed space, that I was paranoid, jealous, crazy, that she'd come back when I calmed down. I didn't sleep, just sat on the balcony, chain-smoking Marlboros despite everything my doctor had said, staring at those screenshots on my phone, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The next morning, I went downstairs. The building had a small reception desk, usually staffed by a young Vietnamese woman named Huong, who spoke pretty good English. She'd helped me with translation stuff before, always friendly. Huong, can I ask you something? She looked up from her phone, smiled. Yes, uncle. I showed her Lynn's Facebook profile. Can you tell me what these comments say? Her smile faded. She looked uncomfortable, glanced around like she didn't want to do this. Please, I said. I need to know. She took my phone, scrolled through the posts and comments. Her face fell further with each swipe. Oh, uncle, she said quietly. This woman she is, how do you say, she has many boyfriend, foreign boyfriend. Many people know this about her. What do the comments say? They laugh at the foreign men. They say she is clever, that she know how to get money from foreigner. One comment say another one. Another say how much this time. My stomach was in my throat. The tailor shop. The daughter. Are they real? The shop is real. She worked there sometime. But the daughter, Huang, looked pained. I don't know. Maybe borrow? Some women, they borrow friend's daughter to show foreign men. Make them seem, how you say, legitimate. Legitimate. The word tasted like ash in my mouth. I'm sorry, uncle. I don't want to tell you this, but you ask. Many foreign men come here, fall in love, give money. This is common thing. I thanked her. Went back upstairs, sat on the couch in the apartment I'd just spent a fortune on, and tried to breathe. When Lynn came back that evening, I confronted her with everything. Showed her the screenshots, told her what Huang had translated. She denied it. Said those men were just friends, that people were gossiping, that this was Vietnam and people talked. She got angry, called me paranoid, jealous. Accused me of stalking her, violating her privacy. You don't trust me, she said, voice rising. After everything? After I give you everything? You gave me everything? Lynn, I've given you $23,000 in 3 months. $23,000. What the hell have you given me? My love, my time, my heart. Bullshit. Your love's got a price tag on it, and I've been paying it like an idiot. That's when her face changed. The mask dropped. Just for a second, but I saw it. The calculation, the coldness. Then the tears came, but they looked performative now. "If you don't trust me, we are done," she said. "We were done the moment I saw you with that guy at the market." She went to the bedroom, started packing. Didn't take long. She barely had anything here. Most of the stuff in the apartment was mine. She grabbed the few clothes she'd left, some toiletries, and the gold necklace. Made sure to take the necklace. "You will regret this," she said at the door. "You throw away something good because you are jealous, old man." She left. I never saw her again. Over the next few days, I pieced together the full picture. The daughter probably wasn't hers, borrowed for credibility like Huang said. The house in the countryside probably didn't exist. The tailor shop job was real, but she used it as cover, a way to meet foreign men who'd think she was legitimate because she had a job. The emergencies were other men's money, other men's apartments, other men getting the same treatment I got. The sewing machines never existed. None of it existed except the con. I was out $23,000, nearly a third of my life savings, gone. And I was stuck in this apartment lease for 6 months unless I wanted to lose the deposit too. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating, would just sit on that balcony, smoking, watching the motorbike stream past below, thinking about how stupid I'd been. Every warning sign had been there, every single one. And I'd ignored all of them because I was desperate to believe someone could love me. A week after Lynn left, I'd booked a flight home. 2 weeks earlier than my original ticket. I couldn't stay in Da Nang anymore. Couldn't walk past that tailor shop. Couldn't sit at those cafes. Couldn't breathe the air without feeling like the biggest fool who ever lived. I'd come to Vietnam to figure out how to live. Instead, I'd learned how easy it is to die inside while your heart's still beating. The flight home was 13 hours of hell. Not the flying part, the sitting there part. Sitting there with nothing to do but think about how stupid I'd been. How completely, thoroughly, embarrassingly stupid. I couldn't sleep, couldn't read, couldn't watch the movie they were showing. Just sat there in that cramped economy seat, staring at the screen on the back of the chair in front of me, replaying every moment, every warning sign I'd ignored, every time I'd told myself, this is different. It wasn't different. I wasn't different. I was exactly like every other lonely fool who'd ever gotten off a plane in Southeast Asia, thinking he'd found something real. Landed in Memphis around 9 p.m. Got my bag, walked through customs, found my truck in long-term parking, right where I'd left it 3 months ago. Felt like 3 years. The drive back to Tupelo was quiet. Dark. Just me and the highway and the radio playing country songs about heartbreak that suddenly felt a lot more relevant than they used to. Pulled into my apartment complex around midnight. Same building, same parking spot, same door I'd walked out of back in February thinking I was going on an adventure. I unlocked the door, flipped on the light, and stood there looking at my life. 1 bedroom, kitchenette, bathroom with the toilet that runs. Stack of mail on the counter that my neighbor had been collecting. Everything exactly as I'd left it, except smaller somehow. Like Vietnam had expanded something in me, and now Tupelo couldn't quite contain it anymore. Or maybe it just felt small because I felt small. First few days back, people kept asking how the trip was. Guys at the VFW, the lady at the grocery store, my boss, when I called to see if he still had word for me. I'd say, interesting, or good, or different, and change the subject real quick. Nobody pushed. Southern politeness, I guess. Or maybe they could see it in my face that I didn't want to talk about it. I did the math one night, sitting at my kitchen table with a calculator and a beer. $23,000. 550 million dong, give or take. A third of everything I'd saved in 42 years of working. Gone in 3 months. But here's the thing, I still had 42,000 left. Plus my pension, plus Social Security kicking in. I could have done worse. Could have sold my truck, borrowed against the house I don't have. Really destroyed myself. Some guys do that. I've heard the stories. At least I'd stop before hitting rock bottom. But the money wasn't what hurt, not really. It was realizing I'd been just another mark, another transaction. Another lonely old fool, desperate enough to believe that someone like Lynn could genuinely care about someone like me. I thought I was different from those other expats I'd seen in the bars. Thought I'd found something real because she had a job and a daughter and wrinkles around her eyes. Turns out that's part of the script. That's how it works. The real ones look real. That's why it works. I went back to the woodshop after about a week. My hands needed something to do, and my head needed to shut up. Started taking small jobs, repair work mostly, fixing cabinets people had bought cheap and regretted. The work was mindless enough that I could lose myself in it. Sand, measure, cut, fit, sand again. My hands remembered even when my head was a mess. Had to go see Dr. Patterson for a follow-up. Was dreading it. Figured he'd take one look at me and say, "I told you so," or lecture me about the smoking I'd started up again. But he just ran the tests, checked the results, looked surprised. "Your heart's actually improved," he said, squinting at the screen. "Blood pressure's down. Whatever you did in Vietnam, keep doing it." I almost laughed. "Yeah, doc, I'll just keep getting my heart broken and my wallet emptied. Great for the cardiovascular system." But he was right about one thing: the walking, the fresh food, cutting back on cigarettes for a while, all that had helped. My body was healthier even if the rest of me was wrecked. Took me a while to process what I'd learned. Not the obvious stuff. Don't trust pretty words, don't ignore red flags, don't be an idiot with your money. Those lessons were surface level. The real lesson went deeper. Desperation makes you blind. I was so desperate to feel alive, to feel wanted, to feel like I mattered to someone, that I handed over my judgment along with my cash. Every warning sign was there. She never invited me to her house. She disappeared for days. Her phone was always locked. She'd sit with other men at cafes. But I didn't want to see it because seeing it meant admitting I was alone again. Meant admitting that maybe nobody was coming to save me from myself. And loneliness makes you stupid. Not just lonely. I'd been lonely for years in Tupelo, but desperately lonely. The kind of lonely that makes you think a 42-year-old Vietnamese woman with a convenient sob story and a warm smile actually gives a damn about a 65-year-old carpenter from Mississippi. That kind of lonely makes you ignore reality because reality is too painful to face. When someone seems too good to be true, especially when you're an older foreign man with money in a poor country, it's because it is too good to be true. Every single time. No exceptions. But here's what else I learned. And this is the part that took longer to figure out. I'm tougher than I thought. I survived. I went to the other side of the world alone, got my heart broken, and my wallet emptied, and I'm still standing. That counts for something. Not much, maybe, but something. And I took a risk. At 65 years old, with a bum ticker and nothing to lose, I got on a plane and tried something different. It backfired spectacularly, but at least I tried. At least I can say I didn't die wondering what if. It's been 6 months now since I got back. I'm still in Tupelo, still building cabinets, still alone. But it's a different kind of alone now. Not desperate, not despairing, just alone. And I'm okay with that. Some days I'm even good with it. I quit smoking, for real this time. Figured if I was going to survive getting scammed out of 23 grand, I might as well survive long enough to see 70. Lynn's one genuine gift, I guess, scaring me into taking my health seriously. I joined a woodworking group at the community center. Started teaching some classes on weekends. Basic joinery, cabinet making, that kind of thing. Turns out there's community right here in Tupelo if you look for it. I just never bothered looking before because I was too busy being miserable. The money's gone. That apartment in Da Nang, the one I paid all that money for, I just let the lease run out. Couldn't afford to keep paying for something I'd never use again. Lost the deposit, but what's another couple grand at this point? Sometimes I think about Lynn. Wonder if she's found her next guy yet. Wonder if Min really was her daughter, or just a borrowed prop. Wonder if any of it was real, or if I imagined the warmth, the connection, the possibility. But mostly I don't think about her. Mostly I think about the lesson, and I hope to God I never forget it. You can't buy companionship. You can't purchase purpose. And you sure as hell can't find yourself by running away to a foreign country and hoping someone else will make you feel whole. Sometimes survival means accepting yourself as you are, where you are, and realizing that's enough. That has to be enough. Because chasing something else, something more, something better halfway across the world, that's how you end up sitting on a balcony in Da Nang at 2 a.m., smoking cigarettes and watching your savings disappear, while a woman you thought you loved is probably in bed with someone else. I came to Vietnam for 3 months to figure out how to live. Instead, I learned how to survive. And right now, at 65, with my heart still ticking and my hands still steady enough to cut a straight line, survival feels like enough. Clyde's story is one we hear often here on Inside Vietnam. Good men, lonely men, men at crossroads in their lives, coming here looking for connection and finding expensive lessons instead. The pattern is always the same. Vulnerability meets opportunity, generosity meets exploitation, hope meets harsh reality. We're not here to judge Clyde or anyone like him. Loneliness is real. The desire for companionship is human, and Vietnam is a beautiful country, full of genuine people. But it's also a place where certain dynamics thrive. Older Western men with money, younger or middle-aged local women with needs, and a cultural gap wide enough to hide a lot of truth. If you're thinking about making a similar move, learn from Clyde, go slow, keep your money close, verify everything, trust your gut when something feels off, and remember that real love doesn't come with escalating emergency costs. Thanks for watching Inside Vietnam. If Clyde's story resonated with you, or if you have your own story to share, leave a comment below. Until next time, stay wise out there.